I thank you for allowing me to come out here and speak to you. My name's Jim Harrity. As I said, I'm from Southwest Philadelphia in Philadelphia. Grew up there. It was a little rough and tumble neighborhood when I grew up there. It's still a little rough and tumble. I currently live in the Kensington section of the city. Uh, and I've been in government for a fairly long time. I worked my way up. I started in the city controller's office when I was in my early 20s, barely 20. Uh, Went from there to the sheriff's department, worked in various departments in the sheriff's department, including labor relations and the real estate department, sheriff sales, so forth, so on. Uh, from there, I went to work for John Street when he was mayor. I was in charge of the NTI program. I was deputy managing director. I was the youngest ever appointed at that time. I was 26. Spent probably 4 years with the mayor's office doing the NTI program, which we were the ones that removed all the abandoned autos from the blocks, uh, cleaned up all the graffiti, cleaned up all the vacant lots, tried to get the neighborhoods to look a little better. Uh, we had a lot of motives for that. You know, cleaning the lots up also allows you to clean up the areas where people who shouldn't be using the lot for illegal reasons are using the lots for illegal reasons. It's not as easy for them to hide things when the grass is cut and it's not overgrown. Uh, from there, I actually took a break. I had a heart attack, and my doctor said that this office work was killing me. So I went back to my union, which I was in as a young man, which is heavy highway. I worked for Local 57 for many years, worked for many different companies on very uh, numerous highway projects. Actually got my heart under control through highway work's a little strenuous, so I was able to get a little more exercise than I was getting sitting behind the desk. And it gave me a lot of time to reflect and think about what I wanted to actually do moving forward. And sometimes you actually don't get to decide. So my best friend decided he was going to run for Senate, Senator Sharif Street. So I took a layoff at Christmas time. Highway work, we usually get laid off the week before Christmas, and we don't go back until till the last week of February or the first week in March. You can't really do asphalt or concrete when it gets below freezing. So we get a little bit of a holiday. We work a lot of hours during the year, so we're able to do it, and most of us are happy with that. So I went to the guy was a foreman. I wasn't going to get laid off, but I went to the foreman and I asked him. I said, "Listen, I know you're going to lay off two of the kids. Do me a favor, lay me off first. I'm going to go help out a friend of mine." So we went, and part of the election process is going through the election and campaign process, and we were able in the beginning of the process to get most of the people that were running against us out, and we ended up winning. And I was called back in the first week of March, and by that time we had gotten everybody out of the campaign. And I had to tell the foreman that no, I'm not going to be returning. I'm going to be going to work for a friend. And that's where I've been ever since. I started out as his body guy or uh, driver, running around with him for the first 2 years. Then I became chief of staff after that. So I've been chief of staff for Senator Street for 4 years. And then, your friends like to do things. So he decided he wanted to be the chair of the Democratic Party. It was a pretty big task, even though he was the vice chair. We had never had an African American chair before the state Democratic Party. Uh, and we weren't the favorite of the incoming governor, which is Josh Shapiro. He wanted somebody from his own area, which is understandable. Uh, so we ran, and by the grace of God, we won. Then from there, I decided that somebody needed to go over to the state party and watch his back. So now for the last 6 months, I've been the political director for the state party, mostly working to get Josh Shapiro elected. How funny how things changed. A couple of months ago, I was working against him. Now I'm working to actually get him elected. I was planning on running in 2023 because of, excuse me? Sorry. Yeah, politics. Yeah. So My neighborhood is, as many of you know, some of you own property in my area. Uh, it's a rough area. We have a lot of obstacles. Believe it or not, before COVID, we were actually getting better. There was less crime, less people milling around, less trash, all that stuff. And then COVID hit, and it spiraled. Um, and things got worse, and they're still getting worse. And I felt as though somebody had to stand up and try to do something different, because what we're doing right now is not working. It's not working in my neighborhood. It's not working in other neighborhoods. I travel around. I work in the third senatorial district. I live in the second senatorial district, and you can go anywhere in the city of Philadelphia right now. And although my neighborhood may be the worst with the opioid crisis, uh, it's everywhere. You can go. My son lives in South Philadelphia with his mother on 10th and Rittner, and you can go 2 blocks to 8th and Rittner, and it looks just like my neighborhood. Now it's only for a couple blocks where my neighborhood is overrun, uh, but I noticed that there was a recurring theme. Not enough services. Uh, it's funny. I share your frustrations, even though I'm not. I am a property owner. I own my own home. I own a shore property. Uh, but I share your frustrations, especially I heard the young lady talk about the water meter. Uh, 2 years in a row, at the end of the year, I paid my last month's bill in December, and the very next month of January, I got $1,000 bill. So I go to fight it. I work for government. I work for a senator's office. I got the power of the senator's office on my side, right? No, I couldn't get anything done. Nobody would really help me, give me any kind of information. Finally, I got a lady now this happened to me 2 years in a row. The first year, I said, you know what? It's not worth the aggravation. I paid it. Second year, it happens again. Now I'm ready to fight. I go up. I'm ready to fight with them. They beat me down so bad, ran me around to this department, that department. And you know what happened? I ended up paying it again. So then the third time it happens. So I finally get somebody who had some knowledge, and she looks at my bill, and come to find out that for the last 2 years, I was paying somebody else's water bill who got attached to my water bill. So at the end of the year, they were giving me her excess bill to pay. And so I said, I'm not doing it now. This is the third year in a row. I'm fighting. So I took it to the Water Revenue Bureau. And they gave me a little discount, but I still had to pay. You know what I'm saying? They told me that this was what it was, and this. And the bottom line was they did come out, change my meter. I had a bad meter. They gave me another bad meter, brand new meter. It was bad. Same thing happened. I get a bunch of big bills that were nothing. Then the next month it went back down to normal. 2 months later, it's back up through the roof. And then that's what they asked me. Do you have a leaking toilet? Do you have a drip? I'm like, listen, I was a union laborer. If I had a leaky faucet, I would fix it. You know what I'm saying? No, it's not. It's on your end. Your person that I spoke to told me it's on your end. And they just said, you know what? We don't believe you. We're going to give you so much off. We're going to charge you this much amount. So instead of paying $1,000, I ended up paying $723, and I was supposed to be happy. You know what I'm saying? They cut me a break, which was completely ridiculous. While, as I said, I'm not a renter, I don't rent out to people. I've seen in my neighborhood what happens to people who do rent their properties out, trying to make a couple bucks. And believe me, I know the rent they're getting in my neighborhood, they're not making a lot of money on. You know, they're barely scraping by themselves. And to be honest, Councilwoman Quinones, thank you guys. I'd really actually like to thank you, because nobody, I don't believe, in government has ever thanked you for the service that you performed. During the COVID time, we came to you and said, listen, you can't throw anybody out. You know what I'm saying? Listen, I don't know any place else where that would go over. But listen, it was a heartache for you. It's not, you know what I'm saying? This is money out of your pocket. You're trying to raise your family too. And I just want to let you know I understand. And I know some of the problems you face because of my neighborhood and seeing I have some good neighbors that have been there for a long time, but where my neighborhood's mostly transient. What I mean by that is they move in and out depending on what's going on. And so I had a lady that lived across the street from me. She was a nice woman, 3 daughters, very nice. She was leasing it from one of the people renting the house in the neighborhood. She took in a boarder, rented him a room. Now, she didn't think there was anything wrong with this, and she had no ill content. But then she decided she was going to move out and move to another neighborhood. Well, the guy she rented the room to decided he wasn't doing that. He rented the room, she signed a paper, and, you would think the landlord didn't rent him the room. You would think the landlord could get him out, especially since the person that actually is leasing the house had moved out. No such luck. Took him about a year to get him out. In the process of that, he had a gunfight out in front of my house, shot up my car. Not with me. I was in bed. I thought it was fireworks. You know what I mean? It must have been a low caliber gun. But my poor neighbor, who's a senior citizen, has a little hoopty car. And meanwhile, she got 2 bullets to her engine. Now she has no car. Can't get to the grocery store. So while I say that I don't know all the problems you face, I do know some of the problems you face. I live with it every day. I can tell you that I'm not for rent control. If you were selling your home, we would not come in and tell you that you can't get market value for your home. That would just be ridiculous. So how could we say that to you as a government and say, listen, you can't get market rate for your rental property? I believe that if we are asking you to do that, us as government should subsidize that. So if we're asking you to give somebody a break, well, okay, we got to be a partnership in that. If you're going to take a hit, then we have to take a hit too. And while I wasn't I wasn't a landlord, I was a business owner. I had a bakery, and the permit and stuff it was a frustrating process. I always complained saying they would turn me down for the permit, and then I would appeal it, pay the extra money and appeal it, and they give me the permit right away. Well, if you just want the extra money, raise the cost of the permit. I'll pay that gladly if I could save my time and aggravation from having to sit down there for 5 hours. So like I say, I share your frustrations. I understand that you are in this for a business and you are also trying to support your families. I mean, you have to pay for school. You have to pay for medical costs, groceries. I mean, we gotta do better as a city, especially if we're actually asking you to do something. We should be willing to do something else in return in order to make it a more feasible for everybody. And listen, as a business owner, I know this isn't I sold cookies and coffee. You know what I mean? I was making $1, baby, it was $1.29 for a cookie. I was making maybe 10 cents a cookie, you know what I mean? Trying to feed my family. And that's hence why I went into government. You know what I mean? I needed a steady paycheck. But, I just want to say that I'm here. I may not know everything about your business, but one thing I do know is I have friends in this room who've known me for many, many years. Bob Jackson, who's one of your board members, has known me for a long, long time. His son is actually my treasurer in my campaign. Harvey Spear has known me since I started my first job in government for the city controller's office. And while when I was younger, I was a little wild thing, but I've mellowed with age and calmed down and have learned that if you want to know something, it's better to ask the people that are doing it. So if I need to know something that has to deal with your business, such as the licensing thing, I think that's an easy thing. I know that they can have a hearing on that. We can have a public hearing and try to simplify that, where citizens come in like you and tell them what's wrong. Because to be honest, if we don't get it, if they don't know, if they don't come to see you and pay you the respect to be here, they're not going to know your grievances either. So you can't deal with a problem that you don't know about. You know what I'm saying? So what we need to do is we need to have some public hearings, and we need to make some changes to L&I. We need to make it easier to get licenses. If there's three licenses that mean the exact same thing, why do you have to have all three? Why can't we combine them into one? Sure, the government wants their fee. Everybody's willing to pay their fair share. Nobody wants anything for free, but at least make it a simpler process so that people can actually get things done. Like this poor lady, that's just ridiculous that she has to, because she doesn't have the exact thing from this time frame, that she can't get it. But as I understood it, you actually do have the one from the original when he started, and they won't let you use that. Like, if you can prove that the guy's been there since it started, then why can't you use that one to file it? There's some stuff is common sense. Some stuff may be a little bit more difficult. But one thing I know, that if I have a problem, the first people, with an issue for Hapco, the first people I'm going to call is Bob Jackson and Harvey Spear, and ask somebody who actually deals with this. Now, it may not, their solution may not be the solution, but at least we got a conversation now, and maybe we can start figuring stuff out. Government's supposed to make it easier for you. That's what I got into it for. I got in it to help people. You know what I mean? We're supposed to make it easier. You're not supposed to take away from somebody making a living. You're not the first people to say it to me. There's frustrations on little people going to get a permit to do something. It's something that can be better. I'm willing to work to try to make it better. I'm willing to come back to you and find out what it is that you need, what you think that the system could do to change it. And like I said, they might not be able to make that change, but maybe that idea controls another change that we can make someplace else. And that's how you do it. You got to talk to the people in the business. That's how, a billionaire doesn't go into a deal without talking and doing his due diligence. The city has to do the same thing. They have to do their due diligence. Somebody has to come in and say, this isn't working. And somebody has to do something about it. So I'm asking you to give me a shot. November 8th, you do actually have to vote for me. I will be filling this term of Alan Dom. If you vote for me on November 8th, I will be automatically sworn in the 28th. So instead of having to wait till January when they usually do those celebrations because the seats are open, I will be sworn in right away, and we can get to work right away. So thank you for listening, and I'll take some questions if you have them.